Hey everyone, it's Christina from the Glaser Tutoring Company, and today we got a good one because we're going to be solving the system of equations by addition with decimals. Hoo-hoo! Halloween just passed, so is this spooky for you? Decimals. Ooh. But don't worry, we got this. Now, we have a beautiful system here, a system of equations. A system basically is just talking about two or more independent, or they could be the same formula in disguise, but just two equations that they give you. So here, since we have the two, this is classified as the system. And we have to solve this system. And what the solving actually means is that if these are two lines, right, and they're linear lines, because for each x value that I see, I only have one x, right, raised to the first. There's not like squares or cubes, and the same thing for the y's, right? So if that's the case, and one line is a linear, beautiful line up, and maybe the other one is like this, the solution is where they meet. So it's the point in which they meet. X marks the spot. So basically, since you're just solving for where they meet, you're solving for a point. And a point consists of x and a y value. And that's why it's just an x and a y. But usually when we do solve, we only can solve for one variable at a time, right? This isn't Calc 3 differential equations types of stuff. So we just want to get x equals and y equals. So somehow along the way, I have to cancel out one of the variables, whether it's going to be x or whether it's going to be y. And this is via the addition method. Technically, there's three total methods: substitution, addition, and elimination. Addition and elimination are very similar to each other. But since this is called addition, if we're doing the addition method, one of them has to be a positive x value, and the other one has to be a negative x value. Because when you add these, that's literally what we're going to be doing. We're going to add these two equations. A positive x and the negative will cancel out. So either we're going to be solving for making the x's the same, but just different signs, or we're going to be dealing with the y's, the same value, but just different signs. And keep in mind that the idea is that you have to make them the same. So if this is a 2x, this has got to be a negative 2x. If this is a 3x, this is a negative 3. And the same thing with our decimals. So if you have like 0.1, this has to be negative 0.1. Now, let's see. I'm diving in here, and I first want to see for ones that maybe are already a positive and a negative to begin with. Now, in this case, I see that my x values, one is negative and one is positive, right? This has a positive sign. And the same thing for the y's. This y is positive and this y is negative. So, doesn't matter there. Now I would just pick the one that's easier to work with, right? Maybe the x's look good to me because this one I know is 1y, right? And the other one is negative 0.2. So I would have to manipulate this equation to make it into this one. 1 times what will get me this value? Yeah, I mean, 1 times anything is going to get you that value. So maybe what I would do is I would take the bottom one and times it by 0.2. And then I would have both 0.2s. One is positive and one is negative. But you got to be fair. Whatever you're multiplying by the first one, you got to do it for all the other ones. So in this case, for equation 1, the top one, and maybe I'll say that, this is equation 1, this is equation 2. So equation 1, you don't have to do anything with it. So negative 0.2x plus 0.4y equals negative, not negative, 0.6. And then x's are in blues, y's are in reds. And now let's just see what that equation 2 looks like. So 0.2 times 1 is now just 0.2. 0.2 times 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4, but it's a negative in front, and you have to move the decimal, so this is negative 0.4y. And this equals 0.2 times 3, or negative 3. So we know that this is going to be a negative. And 2 times 3 is 6, but you got to move the decimal over to the left because of this. So this would be 0.6. And we got X's in blues, Y's in reds, and we have those two beautiful values. One's positive and one's negative, and maybe what we'll do is that's basically what we set out to do. 0.2 and a negative 0.2. So when we add these equations up, these will cancel. So let's see. Add it all the way up. Whee! Isn't math fun? I don't know. When I was a kid, well, not when I was a kid. I still classify myself as, childlike. But, high school, man, math was my jam. That was the only class where I could just zone in. Well, mainly because, for back in the day, our teacher would just give us a worksheet for the whole class and just have us run through it. So it was the only time in which I could just zone in and not have to listen to a teacher. It's just me and the paper, right? Because we didn't have like tablets or anything back then. I sound old, but I'm still up with it. But anyway, so that's why I have a love for math, because it's you and the question. I don't know. Does that make sense? Let me know if it makes sense. But anyway, let's cancel this out. So negative 0.2 plus a positive 0.2, that's gonna go bye-bye. So that gets canceled out. And now 0.4, 0.4 minus 0.4y, that's also gonna get crossed out. So technically, on this side of the equal sign, I have nothing left. I lost both of my variables. But now, over here, 0.6 plus a negative 0.6, that's also 0. This is interesting. What does this mean, right? First off, I lost my variables, so no more variables. So now we're down to basically two answers here, right? Either these lines have nothing in common, which means that they would be parallel to each other, right? If they are a bunch of parallel lines, if they're two parallel lines, they will never cross. And remember, the solution is always the point in which they cross. But if they're parallel, they are never going to cross, right? They have no point that exists between them. But on the flip side, maybe, and let me just group this whole thing, maybe they're the same line. And if I just redraw, another one over it, here's the other line's in red, they would have infinite number of points. And that would be the solution. So which one is it? No solutions or an infinite amount? If these values make sense, then it's infinite. If they don't make sense, then they have no solution. So for example, 0 equals 0. Does this sentence make sense, or this mathematical statement make sense? Yeah, 0 is 0. So this is a check. On the other hand, what you might see if you lose your variables is maybe 4 equals 0. This mathematical statement does not make any sense, because obviously 4 is not 0 and 0 is not 0. The only statement that makes sense is 4 is 4 or 0 is 0. If this makes sense, that means that they are the same line. There is nothing different between these two equations. It is the same equation. It's the same line. Which means that in terms of the solution, you actually have infinite amount of solutions, because every single point is the same, is a solution. So all along that line, you got point. That's an infinite amount of solutions. Because in theory, there's an infinite amount of numbers that are going to be on that line. Infinite amount of solutions. And that is the answer to this question. That was fun. What'd you think? Hopefully this helped. Thank you so much for coming to the channel, viewing the video. If it helps you out, like the video. Tell your friends, tell your classmates. Thank you so much for coming here. I really do appreciate all you guys. You guys are great. Also, I would like to give a huge shout out to Maricela. Thank you so much for being a member to the channel. Your support means a lot to my brother and me, and we're thrilled to have you be a part of this amazing community. Memberships are open on the channel, and if you want to become a member, just click that join button, which can be found below on any video if you're watching on your desktop, or it can be found on the overall channel page too. For all of you that want your name shown in the video, don't forget to choose the gold tier or higher. Thank you so much for considering, and have a great day. Talk to you in the next lesson. Bye-bye!